All right, Mr. Tibbens, welcome to the Dark Waters, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
And it's been a while. I've been wanting to talk to you like last 2 weeks. I mean, it's been like what 2 weeks since you had a the Potomac, right?
Yeah. It's been 2 weeks now.
Yeah. So what have you been up to since then?
I went actually fish a big boat tournament yesterday
Okay.
as a co-angler. Well, as a teammate because they do team events. So pretty much that was it since then. Other than that, I really haven't been fishing at all. Just getting ready for Candlewood next. I
Right.
guess.
Well, I guess we should start off because this is the first time I'm meeting you and the first time on the show. You got to
Yeah,
introduce yourself. Whatever, just who you are, what you do. You know.
yeah. I'm Jack Tibbens. I'm from Groton, Connecticut. I fish in New England Bassland. I'm a director for New England Bassland Connecticut Kayak Trail. I fishing the KBF Trail series, challenge series, monthly stuff. I currently am in an autopilot 120. That's about it.
Oh, cool, man. Well, you said co-angler. I want to talk about that a little bit because a lot of people are doing that in the kayak scene. I guess I don't know. I don't. People are wanting to experiment with different things. What do you think about being a co-angler in those tournaments?
Well, I was lucky enough that this was kind of like a team event, so
Oh, gotcha.
I didn't really have to deal with so much of the co-angler aspect because there's a lot of fine line rules and
Okay.
the co-angler thing. I'm not really for. I
Right.
mean,
That's what I think. That's what a lot of people are finding out. It's not like you were more like just you're like on a boat with your bro up there trying to
yeah,
win a tournament. Yeah. Yeah. I think of
yeah.
like the co-angler, like where you get. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. It's like you get on a boat, you don't know the guy, he's in charge, but you're trying to win money at the same time. So like your destiny is in the hands of this selfish, greedy professional angler who wants to win money too. So it seems like a weird duo they try to do with people. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's any fun to me.
I mean, the main problem is you have no choice, no
Right.
decision. If the guy wants to go flip docks and catch 2 pounders because that's what he's confident in doing, that's what you're gonna go do. I
Right.
mean, two pounders in most tournaments at that level aren't gonna do you anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, you get someone local Joe Blow that wants to go catch 2 pounders. I mean, you ain't gonna do nothing against KVD. It's out there catching 4 pounders. So who cares?
They do know my luck. It's gonna be some asshole that wants to drop shot all day.
Well, that too. I've heard of guys getting stuck in the back of the boat, Carolina rigging with ounce and a half, and they're like not even ready for that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
You know,
Well, cool, man. You're a Northeast guy, right?
yeah.
What were you this past weekend? There's a big showdown up in Cayuga, New York, and you weren't there.
Mother's Day weekend, and then I had that tournament in the big boat yesterday, so that kind of messed
Yeah.
it up. I had talking to Jason, Gardner before. I'm definitely gonna make an appearance, probably Winnipesaukee, probably.
Yeah.
That's definitely in the forecast, I hope.
You missed a you missed a. It was bad. It was a
I
good day for me. Like I caught.
I seen that you did fairly well.
Yeah, I got fourth. But the
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
the coolest thing was that I was in first and second the whole day. I fell apart that last hour. I wasn't able to. Like I had my two smallest fish were 17 and three quarters, and those were the fish I had to, had to cull, get something bigger.
Yeah.
How do you replace two fish that big? I'm like, I'm just out there just hammer like or just trying to. I mean, I was just working hard. I was grinding. I was like, I gotta catch at least one more big fish, or someone's gonna surprise me in the that last hour. And two people, Jason Gardner ended up moving to second, and then I can't remember who bounced me out of third and put me in fourth. But it was just one of those days where it's like I couldn't catch. Like there's nothing else. I don't know. Like any other tournament, there's nothing you can do when you get a limit. Like I made like
Yeah.
92 and whatever it was inches. I'm like any other tournament that wins you. Like that usually could win you a tournament. I know there's some where like you go down to Texas and you got like two or three people over 100, but 92 inches for New York is or any like Northeast state is
I
pretty goddamn
I would
good.
agree. I
Yeah.
would agree. Potomac was the same way. I was trying to upgrade a 17 and a quarter, and I'm like, the way this week has been, I mean, I'm just gonna try, but there's no guarantee. I don't expect, you know.
What do you think? Like, because obviously you got some experience, but like, because that was my first time I've ever been in a situation like that where like I'm winning. You know what I mean? Like it was like the most anxiety, shitty feeling I ever had because it's like holy shit, I'm doing something right. I'm the first person over 90 inches. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm the only person in the lake who's figured the fish out. I'm like, and so I'm getting nervous. I'm like, what do I do now? Do I stay in this spot? Do I move for I'm like trying to figure out like what to do. Because I've never been in that position before. Usually I'm struggling to find fish. Now it's like I gotta find big fish. Like, like
Yeah,
it's a weird
like
feeling when you're ahead like that.
a lot of the local tournaments I do, we don't typically use apps, so everything we see is at the end. So I don't have that build up. But so since Murray though, at Murray I finished fifth on Sunday. So I started to really notice it at Murray, like how much you look at the board and kind of
Yeah,
see what people's averages are and just see if you're on the right bite.
yeah,
Because I found that people were putting up limits, but they were 15-inch limits, and I'm like, all right, well, the fish that I'm catching are 17, so it's like, all right, let me just stay here because I know that the potential is here, is just whether or not they're gonna bite.
right, yeah. So like I wonder, like, if there's cause like when you're catching big fish like that, I didn't get the 20 inchers, and that's a real difference in a tournament like that. But like, what do you think? Like when you're in a situation where like that, where it's like, dude, like you're top 5 or top 3, you're crushing it, and you know that most people are struggling because not everyone gets to be in the top 5. So it's like you got this weird. You got this weird like leeway now, you know what I mean? Like before, you're just trying to get a limit, like you're freaking out, like
Yeah.
nothing's going right, your head's spinning, or you're moving from point A to point B, trying to figure out. But when you got a limit and you got a good limit, it's like it's almost like you get a little more freedom of what you
Yeah.
can do now, because like there's so like that was one of the things that I realized, like once you get that limit and you start calling it and you're like, oh shit, I got a really good limit, like 90 inches. I mean,
Yep.
unless all these people up north just really like find them or something like that, like I'm pretty much going to be in the money. But at the same time, you're like, now I want to be first.
Yeah,
It's like
right. I want to guarantee.
yeah. So I'm sitting there trying to figure like, well, what is my next step? Like, I'm not pulling anything bigger out of, like my biggest fish was 19 and a half inches. That was my biggest one. Everything else was below that, a lot of 17s, a lot of 16s, a
Yep.
few 18s and things like that. I'm just like, do I stay here or do I go for one, I'm wearing this place out. 2, where am I going to go? That's not, like I wonder if there's like a way, a thing that people do to be like, move to a bigger fish, move to an area that might have that. I mean, it's there's so many things you could do right there, but there's so many things you don't want to do, because now I gotta get out of this little bubble I created, this little comfort zone that I created, to go out there and go for broke and try to win the tournament. And that was like my speed bump the whole, like, for like the last few hours. I'm like, do I leave this flat
Yeah. Do
and
you
go try
go
to
looking for the big bite? I
go
mean,
looking for the big bite?
I mean, in a kayak, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. You have to grind it out where you are getting bites, because I mean, if you're getting quality bites, those bites will come. It's
Yeah,
just when is that bite gonna happen? If you were in a bass boat, I'm going looking. I'm not gonna
right,
waste any time sitting here. But that's because you can jump. You can go
right.
to a spot. You can sit there for 15 minutes. You could, waste a half an hour and have no problem jumping to the other side of the lake in 10
Yeah.
minutes.
That's something I kind of learned in this tournament too, because like, in the past I've always been the kind of a guy who, you get there to your spot, it doesn't produce. You go to your next spot, it doesn't produce, and then you start freaking out, and you start, I would literally just move. Like I would move more miles than I would cast, just trying to find a spot
Yeah,
that was
right.
producing fish.
Yep.
And like this time, I'm like, so like I went to my point A, or my first spot. Like the moment I got there, I knew it was shit. I know the water, the rain, the temperatures dropped over there. It was just blown out. Like it was just really, really bad. The water temp was way colder than the main lake. I'm like, they're not going to be up here anymore. That rain had to shut them down. I did a few casts to make sure, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to do something else. And so I went to my next spot, and I caught a fish. I caught another fish, and I'm like, the immaturity part of me or whatever wanted to leave. Like we got to go
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like you got to get a limit. And but I'm like, no, you're gonna sit right here and you're gonna fish this spot for hours and hours until you know this isn't a spot anymore. And so I did that, and then like something weird happened. I started finding fish. I was making like little subtle changes. Look at my monitor, just trying to figure them out. And like eventually, I figured them out. Like I knew exactly what they wanted. I knew exactly what, like the retrieval, like the speed when I'm retrieving it back, how I wanted to pop it out of the grass. And then, like I wasn't catching fish just one after another one, but like on a day that was really like believe it or not, even though we caught all the big fish, it was still a tough bite. Like you had to be patient, but the fish you caught were really, really good fish. It wasn't like I was just pulling them out left and right. It was like, you had to really go out there and like, I mean, I was slow rolling for like 6 hours, but but anyway, I started catching the fish, and I realized, oh shit, if you don't lose your mind and go crazy and start moving all over the place, the chances of like catching fish are a lot better. when you kind of just stick with something and just work it out instead of
For
just
sure.
panicking and moving. And the dude was so bad. It was one lake last year, like I went across it like 3 or 4 times. It's a mile to get across. So for like 15 to 20 minutes for me to get across this lake, that takes up that's like almost 2 hours, 3 hours of just moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just going back and forth,
Yeah.
going back and forth. I mean, the Potomac was the same thing. I stayed in the same marina all day. My
Yeah.
buddy came and checked on me. He's like, dude, you're getting them, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting them. He goes, okay, I'm getting them too. And then I'm like, dude, I'm sick of looking at these same boats and these same docks and these same pylons
Yeah.
over and over. I'm like, I gotta move. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. I've
Right.
learned that lesson before. I found that when I get in situations like that and I want to move, I just got to tell myself, don't do it, because
Yeah.
every time it happens, I burn myself.
Right.
I burn myself.
Yeah.
Like, I just leave it, and then I go back the next day, and then what do you know? The fish are still there, and I'm like, yeah, I probably should have never left.
Yeah. Well, like one of the things I'm thinking, like when I used to move all the time, I moved to another spot that was probably similar to that last spot I was at, and you're thinking it's going to be different. But I mean, like there's these
Yeah.
fish are in patterns. You know what I mean? There's a reason why they're shallow. There's a
Yep.
reason why they go deep. There's a reason why they do things. And so if you're moving and you don't know what reason you're going there, and that's a lot of times like I was fishing a flat over here. Well, I'm just going to haul ass 2 miles this way to go fish a flat over there, and thinking that the fish are going to be like, and then they might, I don't know, but the thing that the same weather conditions, the same lighting, whatever. They really think there's going to be a huge difference on that flat. Thinking that like I'm going to be able to catch fish on that flat way better than this flat because to think that, I mean, I think it's kind of foolish in some ways, or at least it's never worked out for me. Now I'm not moving to like going from a flat. All right, they're not shallow up here eating, so I'm going to move to the grass line on the outside, and then they're not there. Maybe move to the channel and things like that. I understand like changes like that, but like to just move to go to an area just because you're freaking out, it just hurts me. It hurt me every single time. Like, and to me, it's like there's a reason why you picked this spot in the first place. You saw something there, whether it was vegetation, the food source, the temperature, and they were there once. I imagine they're not going to be too far from that spot, and really just working that spot and really trying to figure out what changed and what moved them from shallow to deep or whatever. I think that's kind of stuff that I would really want to focus on instead of like traveling. Cause like you said, like it's burned me every time, but slowing down, come in a kayak. I don't have the ability to go beat feet across the lake. The speed of light, like I can only move it a few miles an hour. So to sit there and like really break down that water that you chose to fish, moving shallow, moving deep, slowing down your retrievals or whatever. I think those are the kind of things that I'm really trying to tune in now this season, because I've had a really successful season so far compared to many of my other ones. And it's just subtle changes like that instead of just being like a maniac and just freaking out all the time trying to get, just cover way too much water sometime.
I mean, what I've found as of late, because a lot of these lakes that we fish now are all huge. Like the lakes I fish at home, 300 acres at best. So half of these creeks and rivers and coves are like my lake. So I've been trying to just pick one section and just stay with that because it has everything that I'm looking for. It has the rocks, it has the weeds, it has the deep, it has the shallow, it has current. Like it has everything that I'm kind of looking for, and just kind of dealing with the situation as it comes.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's kind of where like I started doing like I accept the fact I'm in a kayak. You know what I mean? It's like everything's got to be slower and everything. And I got to be more precise or more picky, like on the spots that I choose. Like when I'm looking at the map
For
now,
sure,
I'm not looking at one spot. I'm like, okay, that whether it's a cove that looks like it could produce. I'm looking at points, but then I'm looking off it, like and trying to see like, well, what can I do with this area? Like how many different things, how many different ways can I fish this area? Where can I move? And what are the fish? Will the fish move up? Okay, if they move up and they want to move back, like where are they going to go? So it's like I really try to break down that area. And I'm like you, like I'm looking, for different things, like whatever. I want this area, like within like this mile or whatever I decide I'm going to fish. I want to be able to find as many spots that could be holding fish instead of like looking at like a whole. It's almost like I take a little section of the lake, and that part that becomes my whole lake now. Like
exactly.
And I stay in that area, and for some reason, it's just been like super successful for me. Like when I was at Oneida, I did a tournament there. I came in second. It's cold here, so I know the fish want to find warm water. So I found a marina that had warm water, but I knew if something happened at marina, I can go right back to this main lake where the cove is, where there's great, and that was kind of like my. And I felt better going into it because I wasn't worried about moving too much. I was just worried about just kind of fishing that whole area that I decided was going to be my day to have a tournament on. And I think it works better for me. I don't know. I know some people don't mind. They want to cover as much water as possible, but yeah, I think if you're going to cover as much water as possible, you got to know like why you're doing that and like what you're looking
That's
for. You know what I mean?
that's pre-fishing. You know,
Yeah.
when I'm
Yeah.
pre-fishing,
Exactly.
I'm not stopped. I'm not going slow. I'm moving 100 miles an hour. You know, I during pre-fishing I caught 6 bass. I mean, that isn't much to say for the 30 that I caught in 2 days. I
Right.
mean, so I covered a lot of water during pre-fishing, and you get bites. Don't get me wrong, but they're random. 90% of the time that you get bites moving like that, it's random.
Yeah.
So I just rather just take one section and just say, okay, this is where I'm getting bites, and all right, break that whole section down, and that's where I'm gonna be.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, enough about my adventures. 2 top 10 finishes, man. The Potomac River, KBF. One of the reasons I want to talk to you because I'm absolutely like, I have pulled out of the Potomac and I've pulled out of the Chesapeake Bay. When I said I was going to do those tournaments, but I'm like I kind of freak out before I actually sign up for them because like they're the tidal fisheries. I don't want to go to a place I'm not prepared for. That offers certain variables that I just like it's just different. And so, I want to learn about them. So I've been really interested to talk to some people who've had success on them. I had a guy, Joshua Evans, on here. We talked last night on Instagram Live. He's from that area. We talked a little bit, but you being successful, 2 top 10 finishes in 2 days. I'm sure you learned something or you knew something before you got in there. But like, what is your approach to like a tidal fishery? What do you think about tidal fisheries? I mean, are
I'm
there any close to you? Like, I mean, like, what is it? Is
the
there a reason to
closest.
be nervous about them or what?
Well, the closest thing for me is the Connecticut River, which I've been to many, many times. The problem with tidal waters is that it has everything. It has
Yeah.
rocks, it has weeds, it has smallmouth, it has largemouth, it has all the stupid random fish that you would rather not catch. I mean, when I was down at Potomac, I caught catfish, I caught snakehead. I mean, I caught a carp. You know, so I mean, they're both kind of similar. But where we were on the section of river, there was no smallmouth, so it's not like I could go and go to the dams and know that 90% of the time there was going to be a smallmouth waiting at the bottom of the dam. This, to be honest with you, was just accident. We pre-fished all week. We didn't really find too much, and my buddy said, "Hey, let's check this spot out." And it was literally 15 minutes away from where we were staying, so we went and checked it out. I caught 4 fish in a row on the same pattern, doing the same thing. And I said, this might be something. Skipped a few more docks, farther down the marina, and there they were setting up on the same thing, like 5 or 6 slips down. And I was like, yeah, this could potentially be something.
Right. Now, is there? Because I mean, now I don't know about the Potomac. Maybe I'm thinking too much about like the Chesapeake Bay, where like I mean, it's you got to fish the tides. You have to.
Well,
What about the
I
Potomac? I
think
mean, I don't
I
know. It's so far up there. Not necessarily connected to the main water that the Chesapeake Bay.
well, like down there, they had that crazy wind, and they had a low tide with a full moon that week, and the water literally on Saturday felt like it came in for an hour. I watched the high tide mark just stay out of the water the entire day. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's unpredictable. The key with tidal stuff is finding fish that are going to have water the entire time. Whether you're going to have high tide or you're going to have low tide, you got to
Right.
have water. I mean, you can't get the water sucked out of there. And if you're going to be in a situation like that, you need to be like on the outside where the bait's getting pushed in or the bait's getting
Right.
pushed out. So you're gonna have that flow of bait or fish nonetheless in that zone. You know,
Okay.
like the Connecticut River is a little bit different than down there. Down there the water's dark as can be. You can't really see 2 feet. You come up here, you get in a river, you could sometimes, most of the time, see 2 or 3 feet, no problem. So, I
Okay.
mean, for me down there, it was pretty much luck. Up here, I would say, it's all about having water the whole time.
Right.
For me up here, even up here in tidal systems, you just gotta have the water. I mean, if it goes to 2 feet and it was at 5 or 6, I mean, they're probably not going to be there, or some other fish had moved in there already to push them out.
Right. So is it a was it something were you planning for? Like, were you like constantly looking to see what the tides were going to do,
I, I
and
did.
that kind of
I,
dictating like where you were going to fish?
I kind of did throughout the week, because everybody was talking, oh, grass, 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 grass. Well, I fished all week and didn't see no grass. Or if I did, it was 3 or 4 inches tall, and it just wasn't holding them like it should.
Mhm.
So, like I said, this spot just we looked on the map. It was 15 minutes from the house. It had 12, 15 feet at the end of these docks, and it had water throughout the whole thing. So I was like, even at low tide, this thing's gonna have 5 or 6 feet on it still.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's gonna be water in there. And then thank God, because where we would have went, where we pre-fished and caught some fish, there would have been no water, zero. We would have been walking on mud flats for probably a football field.
Jeez, that's crazy how much that will change because you don't think about. Like, I mean, like the lakes don't do that. You know what I mean? Like I live up
No,
here on
yeah, right.
Glacier Lake. I mean, like the obviously rains and dams. They release water sometimes. They'll change water levels, but that's not the moon being over here pulling shit over there or whatever it is. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? And like, I guess one of the things like like the fish that we're used to catching in our lakes and most of our rivers. I mean, you can pretty much like figure out what they're going to do. I mean, they got the creatures of habits, they got patterns, and there's not much that really changes about them. Like we think, I can't. I mean, when I remember like fishing like redfish, like down in Panama City, Florida, and how much like the fish like where their staging areas and things like that really change. Like everything goes with the tide. Like if you figure
Yeah.
the tides out, you could probably figure the fish out. But you had like I guess what I'm saying like to figure the fish out, you absolutely had to know what the tides were doing.
Yeah.
Like the guys that I,
It's just like striper fishing,
yeah, when I
you
would
know.
fish with them, like they like, well, it's a low tide, so they're going to be set up here. It's a high tide, and they're going to be set up here, and they're really like those guys could catch fish every day because they understood exactly how the tides work. I mean, and it was crazy like how efficient those guys were just by understanding like the tides.
I feel like the saltwater fishing, like that marshland stuff, the inshore stuff, is more tide dependent than an
Okay.
actual river system, I feel like. I mean, that's just me personally, but I mean, I'm no professional, trust me, by all means. And I do a lot of weird things. So, um, but I feel like in the saltwater, it definitely is more tide dependent versus
Okay.
in a river where you're brackish water.
Okay. Cool. So what was your how'd it go? I mean, obviously like you found it by accident. A spot that you're like, well, I'm lazy. I don't feel like going. I'm just kidding. But you found a spot that was close to you. I mean, what was the strategy going in there? What base were you throwing? What type of cover were you fishing? Like how did you do this? Because you did something right 2 days. Don't give away too many secrets because there's more tournaments coming up on there. But like just
Um, I'm up here. I don't care. That's fine. They can have it. But I found on Friday we went there and preached for fish for a few hours, and we tried pretty much this whole creek, and there was a lot of bait, a lot of big bait, and during the week I really haven't seen big bait. It was mostly smaller stuff, that 1 inch, 2 inch size.
mhm.
And then we got into this creek, and there was shad, there's herring. I mean, and they were all 8, 9, 10 inches long. And I'm like, this could potentially set up. And I'm like, well, with the tides coming in and out and it being low tide, I'm just gonna go towards the mouth of the creek and just see what happens out there. Just so happens there was a marina with water on there. And on Friday, like I said, I went in there, caught 4 fish on the same exact pattern. They were all on a single pylon that was in between the boats. They weren't on the docks. They weren't, I didn't have to skip under no docks. It was the single pylon by itself. And it honestly, I don't think it really mattered the lure, you know. It might have, because there was a lot of guys in there on Saturday that didn't do too well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was mostly throwing the coffee tube, striking coffee tube, and with a 1 ounce, with an 8 ounce jig head, and just dragging it right next to the pole, and they were just loading up. I think
Is
I
it one of
probably
those
could
spots
have.
there they reset it on a lot?
I could have probably stayed there for 3 or 4 days, I think, and
Oh
and
wow.
been fished there every day. I mean, granted, Saturday, which really hurt me, was just a
Yeah.
lot of pressure. I mean, I on Sunday I was able to just free realm, go whatever dock, whatever slip, whatever pole I wanted to go. I had two runway slips that were producing the better fish, so I kind of focused on those more than the rest, And but on Saturday there was probably, I don't know, at least 20 boats just in this marina alone.
No, what
So
changed
it was
Sunday then? Like, they didn't want to fish on Sunday or the
I
Lord's Day
I'm
or something?
I'm I'm not really sure. The water changed a little bit. There
Yeah.
got a lot more water in there from Saturday, and I guess I don't know. I saw some of the top 10 guys in there on Saturday, and then I didn't see them on Sunday. So I was a little confused, but I was thankful at the same
Yeah.
time. I
Did,
was
did,
I was
did you win on
definitely
did you
thankful
win on Sunday or Saturday?
on Sunday. Yeah,
Okay, JR, that's right. JR won on Saturday.
yeah.
And he didn't fish again on Sunday. I take it everybody wanted
No,
his spot, huh?
I guess I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
They were biting. I left fish all day biting.
Yeah.
They were biting all. I mean, I caught my first fish at 6:02. I mean,
Jeez. Yeah.
it's like I was like third, fourth cast, and I was ready to go.
I
I was
wonder, like, because a lot of people, it's just really weird when you hear people talk about, like, especially the 2 day tournaments. A lot of them are always they don't want to go back to where they. It's just really weird. Like, you never really hear someone like at a Hobie event like winning the tournament fishing the same day he did the day before, and I'm really like, why? Like, why is it? Like, I mean, if a place produces, like, why would you ever leave it, and why wouldn't you go back to it just to see and because I mean, a winning spot's a winning spot. And I know things could change. Like, maybe those really highly intelligent people who know, well, the moon moved this way tonight, and so now the fish are gonna. And I know there's people out there that can do that
sure,
weird fit
sure,
that
sure.
fish whisper shit. But but I see a lot, like a lot of people they just change what they do so much, and I wonder, like, sometimes I feel like consistency, and really and what we were talking about earlier, like really picking apart and staying in those areas and just doing the grunt work of like just really figuring out what these fish want, how they're sitting, and all those things. And I know sometimes it takes a lot of experience, and I know that probably pushes people away because people just want to catch fish, but
Sure,
they don't realize
sure.
that like there's fish still there. I mean, like you have to catch them.
Yeah, well, I went 2 or 3 hours, and then I was like, all right, I caught a lot of fish on the coffee tube, and I was like, you know what, let me just pick up a trick worm or let me pick up a craw and just start flipping that around and see if I could get bites, just to see
Yeah,
if it was dependent on the tube or if it was just this is where they were going to be and they were just biting. Just it was just a matter of when,
right.
because I mean, there was a couple of pylons that I caught 2 or 3 fish off of the same exact pylon.
Yeah.
So I knew they were filling up. It was just a matter of
I feel like
okay.
with a bite like that, and not always, but we got a bite like we got like targets. Like you can you go to one, you wear it out, and you go and you hit 2 other ones, but you come back to that one. And a lot of time, I just feel like it resets a lot of time.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? Like there's a
mm-hmm.
reason why fish wanted to be there, whether it was for protection, food, whatever. But like it, I just feel like they're like those kind of spots are the places that if you find a spot like that, you want to keep coming back because I feel like they're always going to reset. You know what I mean? I just feel like there's a reason why the fish were on there, and there's a reason why they just keep coming and going or whatever. But there's a reason why they want to be there.
Yeah, and like I said on Saturday, there was tons of guys in there catching fish. I mean, there
Yeah,
was tons of guys. I saw the drop shot, Ned rig jig. Everybody's flipping in there and skipping under the docks, and you got guys in there with live scope and AccuTarget and seeing them on there, and I'm like, I'm good. Good luck. I'm just gonna pray. I'm just gonna go in here and just cast at everyone and hope for the best.
yeah. But I was when I did my Oneida tournament, I was fishing like this small marina, and it was a very small one. Like I'd go to the back of the marina and I'd go to the front of the marina, and they're literally like a baseball throw from each other. But I would do that. I would go to the back, fish there really hard, you catch fish, and then when I felt it kind of died down, I'm gonna get these guys a break or get the spot a break.
Yep.
And then I moved to the other spot, do the same thing, catch fish. But it was weird. Like I'd go back and I would catch different like quality of
Yep.
fish every single time. Like they were coming and going. Or here's the funny part that I don't think people think about. There's more fish under that water than you'll ever know.
Oh,
Like if you're there and all of a sudden that water just
more.
drained, you're like, oh shit, there's like hundreds of fish here.
Yeah,
And
we're
it's just
past
like
10,000 fish already.
yeah, it's weird. I think I mean, I think sometimes like being patient and really staying with a spot will go wonders for you in this sport. Because when I look at like the numbers of like people who who skunk or just don't do good compared to like what you see in like the in some of the big boat tournaments where you got like real pros and you see like their numbers. I just like sometimes I think like we miss things. You know what I mean? And when people do so bad, I wonder if it's because we move too much or we don't actually like fish and problem solve. And like why you only have like a few people who are at the top who are kicking everyone's ass, and when we're wondering what they're doing is because for one, they just know these kind of things, and we're all playing catch up. But like the things that I've learned this year of just not moving and fishing the shit out of a spot, like fishing it hard. I mean, like playing around with colors, playing around with retrieval speeds, all these different things you can do. that are better. You got a better chance to catch a fish with that than you do like just constantly moving your through areas. I mean, it's amazing like what just a little bit of patience and like just hard work will do, especially when you're hitting targets like that.
I mean, let's just say Sunday, I was so confident that that's what I was going to do. No
Uh,
fish finder, no nothing. I said, I'm just going to go in there, and that's all I'm doing.
yeah.
I brought four rods. Two of them had a tube on, and two were Texas rig. And that was it. That's all I was going to do the whole time. I
Sometimes
didn't.
I think like being that ballsy or is like a good thing. That's what I did. This at Kayak. I went out there on Thursday. I had all my rods, I had all my boxes,
Yeah.
and I went to the spot. Like within like 5 minutes, I knew that was my spot. Like they were just set up. Like and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna win the tournament here.
Yep.
But then I'm like, all right, you gotta go find another spot. So I went to the spot that's too far from it. Caught just enough fish. Like, okay, well, if that spot don't work, this spot will work. So there's my plan A, my plan B. And so when I was getting my gear together, I'm like, I'm only taking 4 rods out. I've never done that before. You know how scared I was because like that. But the reason I did it though is because like if you give yourself the option, sometimes you'll take it. You know what I mean? Like if I would have brought a bunch of deep diving crankbaits and stuff like that I probably would have freaked out. I was like, well, I gotta go out there deep. So come tournament day when like because when I got to my spot first thing in the morning, like the water temp changed because of the rain. I mean, it was just shit. There was no way that I was gonna make that spot work just because like if the main lake's 53 and this part of the lake or this whatever creek is only 47, where are they gonna be? Or where are they gonna be moving at? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing, but that's what I felt like. My goal a lot of times, especially this time of year, is find warm water and find bait fit. Find those things. If you find that, you're like. I'm not messing around in 47-degree water when there's 52-degree water,
Absolutely
100 feet away from it. So but I get out there and like I had no choice. I had to fish that flask. That's the kind of I brought a chatterbait. I brought this. I brought that, and because I did that, and I took away my options to go mess around because I dedicated myself to fishing that area. Dude, it paid wonders. And so like I kind of like that idea. It's like, dude, pre-fishing. It's like you said earlier. Like you move and you cover water during pre-fishing and you try things out, but come tournament day, build your plan and stick with that plan. And if you got to have a Hail Mary, throw that Hail Mary's for at the end. You know what I mean? Hail Mary's are when like you're desperate and you get, and that's it. But like I kind of like that philosophy of not taking everything you have out there. And
sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. I see people out there 12, 14 rods. I'm like, I don't even have 12 or 14 lures that they're gonna bite right now.
Right.
Like, I don't even have that many lures in my arsenal that they're going to bite right now.
Yeah.
In the springtime, everybody's like, oh, I need 15 rods. I'm like, what 15 lures are you going to tie on? I mean, they're only biting 4 different lures right now. I mean,
right.
I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, keeping things simple, I think will go a long ways too. I'd have like 3 rods,
so everything is simple for me.
Yeah, I would have like a deep diving crank, tied up. I'd have a medium one, and I'd have a square bill tied up. Then I'd have a chatterbait, and I mean, it's like, oh my god, dude! Like I
I gotta have it in 3 colors. I gotta have 4 jerk baits on that are 5 different colors. It's just, I don't know. That's just too much for me.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like the people who I've been talking a lot, like that have been winning tournaments. Like obviously you now. I was talking to Ryan Lambert. He won the TOC, and just a few other people. When you win, like, and when you talk to them, and then you hear about like their setups and what they use, you're like, well, why is my rookie ass so? Why do I feel like I gotta have everything when like these guys? It's like you said, like you didn't even take a fish finder. You didn't even take this. It's because like it's we take everything.
So some of that stuff though, a lot of people can't believe that I use mono.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, I don't use 4.0.
Stuff like that.
It's preference, I use mono. Yes, I spool up every tournament. I don't care. It cost me $8 at Walmart for some trilene big game.
Right.
I don't care.
Dude, fishing line's been the craziest one for me this year because I'm like,
everybody. It's not just you. It's everybody.
You get this sport, and like it's so weird. I wish people were. I wish I would we would actually talk to people first because when you first get in the sport, dude, like I got thousands and thousands of dollars over here on shit I'm probably never going to use again because when you first get in the sport, you think you need it. And just like I've spent so much money. Then I talked to guys like you and Drew Gregory and all these guys who are successful, who are winning. And it's just like you hear what they have and what they use and what they don't use. And I'm just like, well, goddamn, dude, like like that could have saved
Yep.
me a
No,
50,000.
all the time. I get messages all the time. Oh man, what do you think about that hybrid vase braid? And I'm like, for what? What do you need high vis for?
Yeah,
Like I don't high vis has just come out for drop shot.
yeah,
Like it just came out like in the last 5, 6 years. It's what happened to the stuff that worked 20 years ago? Just like the tube, for
right.
instance. The
What?
tube is is old school. I mean,
Yeah,
it is outright gone. Everybody's drop shot and net in. That's all small mouth techniques now. The tube is lost.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you talk
Yeah,
to anybody that fished at the Potomac River, none of them. I bet I can almost guarantee none of them had a tube on. None. Zero. Zero.
yeah.
You
It
know.
is crazy. Like we are like in a weird phase where it's like it's chatterbait, drop shot, Ned rig,
Mm-hmm.
and
Senko.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
kind of shows you
the,
like the shit of like the industry is like and like how controlling and like mind controlling it is sometimes where you feel like these are what
yeah,
these people do and you forget other things and you forget that people didn't have that crazy fluorocarbon and all that other stuff of 15 20 years ago. It's and not only that, but some of the setups, like I was talking to someone like I don't like doing leaders that much. I mean, I understand there's sometimes there's a
sure,
need for
sure,
them. I'm doing
sure.
I'm setting this drop shot up, and we got to have this braid with this something leader so you can fill everything. And I'm like, well, watch this because I don't like having another break point. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do fluoro, and then I'm out there, I'm catching fish. I'm like, what was the big difference that I'm missing here that was gonna make? And maybe there is, maybe look, if you like that sensitivity, like, look, I like to throw my chatterbait on braid no matter what.
I throw my chat on braid with
Braid. I don't care
with a
how.
mono leader. I
Yeah,
use a mono leader just
like,
because.
it's just you catch fish. You catch. I mean, I don't know.
I'm,
I don't think there's like any
yeah,
rules. Like, it's just but there's so many people who think they know everything, or everyone's ready to write a book or make their own YouTube channel. And it's just like, dude, there's people out there who are using
a
a
lot of
$20
yeah.
rod, fishing all mono, ain't never use a fish finder, and they're out there winning tournaments consistently because they know how to fish, and they don't follow all the real laws and follow trends of gadgets and whatever. I
Sometimes you
mean,
can't.
yeah,
Sometimes you can't. Like right now, everything is trending and everything is being used. I mean,
yeah,
you know, they're seeing the same lure over and over and over and over and over again because that's what's trending.
yeah,
If you're not in a kayak throwing it, you're in a bass boat kayak throwing it. If you're not on a bass boat or anything else, you're on shore doing the same thing.
yeah,
You're doing the same thing.
yeah,
So I try to go. I'm odd, so I like to go opposite. So if
yeah,
everybody's doing this, I don't want to do that. I
yeah.
want to go on. I want to be on the opposite end of that.
There's got to be something to that, though. I mean, if not, maybe there's nothing to it. Maybe it all just kind of works, and we're all,
It's a confidence. It's a
yeah.
confidence thing. Like this,
Well, it was
my buddy. He
when it
says
comes to
he can't believe
confidence,
I catch fish on braid.
yeah, I
He's
know,
like,
and
I don't
he'll
know how
tell me
you do
that
it.
too all the
Straight
time. And
braid. Hey, I use it. No problem.
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, like it's really weird.
I don't
It's really
know.
weird. They think that like a braided line. They think they'll see it and they'll know what that is. But when it comes to like I've never seen a fish that looked like a jig with crazy hair and mohawks or whatever else that things look like now these days. It's like
Yeah, I
I
don't.
think the fish are they're hungry, but they're not
Yeah,
hungry. And
yeah.
then I don't know.
They're eating it.
They're
They're
eating
eating
it.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
know
mean,
there's
it's
a
all.
lot of things to think about, but it is kind of weird, like how there's just so much driving, so much, and like I mean, look, I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of that chatterbait. I love it.
I'm
Um,
not. I'm not
I
on the
know
wagon.
exactly. I know, and there's a lot
I'm
of people
not.
who aren't on a
I'm
wagon.
not.
I mean, but so I don't know. I think it's just it's a perspective thing, but it changes so much. But I don't know. It's good to hear some people talk about like what I really like to hear is like when people are minimizing like their stuff because like if someone needs 12 rods and they need whatever, that's fine. But like one of the things I learned,
Yeah,
like
sure.
you said earlier, is comfort. Like a comfort bait, dude. Like I don't think I've caught a fish on anything else but a chatterbait. This like for the last 2-3 weeks. And it's just and don't worry, I've tried, but when things get tough, like I just know how to fish it. And like when I was at the
Yeah,
tournament on
that's
Saturday, I was just like I knew what to do with it, and like I was rolling, I was slow rolling it, I was popping it up and down, I was jigging it, I was doing all these different things with it. And I couldn't do it with anything else, but for some reason, just like if I had to have my chatterbait, just because it's
yeah,
just my comfort now. I mean, it's just weird how things kind of like fall into place like that. But like you can do a lot of stuff with the same lure lots.
yeah.
Like if you're like,
It's just like my jig. I use the same jig for everything. Everybody's like,
yeah,
oh, I gotta go buy a swim jig or I gotta go buy a flipping. What? No, no. I'm using the same jig for all four things that you're talking about doing.
yeah, Dude, it's so
It's not
funny
any.
you say that.
I'm sorry to tell you.
Yeah,
Sorry
yeah.
to tell you. You
I
don't
was
have to
thinking about
buy
doing because
6 different jigs for the same thing.
I was gonna buy some more jigs, because I feel like I needed some more football jigs. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm sitting there looking at like one of the football jigs that I have, and I was looking at my swim jig, and I'm like, what can I do with this football jig that I can't do with my swim jig? Like, what?
It's
Granted,
not.
they were saying, like, I mean, I guess it stands up a little, whatever, but it's just like I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, I don't see like
I,
why I need to have everything. It's just weird to me.
I don't know.
I don't know.
For me, a jig is reaction. I don't care. It's
Yeah,
reaction.
they want to
It
see it
is
pop up or whatever it's going to
nine,
do. Or
nine times out of 10, it's on the fall. I mean, it's on the fall.
yeah,
I mean, I don't even fish a jig. I literally flip it in there, it hits the bottom, I reel it in. That's it.
yeah,
There's no hopping, skipping, flipping, dragging, none of that. It hits the bottom and it reels in on to the next cast.
yeah.
If it doesn't get bit,
If it doesn't get
you
bit,
know.
yeah. It's great. We could really talk about that for hours, but let's get back just
Sure,
to the
sure.
tournament a little bit more about staying up soon, man. Dude, winning two top tens. I mean, that puts you in a weird place, right? Like, I mean, it's like, well, shit. Now I got points. Your name might be up there with like Angler of the Year type setups. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about that kind of stuff? Like, how dedicated are you to the sport, or like like the sport part of it, not just like. I mean, like, do you want to be Angler of the Year? Like, some people just, the tournament was close, so why did I go do it? I mean, like,
I
how do you
mean,
kind of view yourself?
um, I saw it at the beginning of the year. I had a pretty couple good finishes. I was in the top 10 for a little bit, and then obviously they had some of those tournaments out west, and I was like, all right, I kind of knew that was kind of gonna happen. Some of the regular hammers, were gonna move up, and I was like, all right. And then we went there, and then I finished fifth at Murray, and I saw it again, and I'm like, all right, we'll just see what happens. And then I finished seventh on Saturday and first on Sunday. I'm like, well, okay, well maybe now we might have potential. And then all I could think about was, damn, we're gonna go to Candlewood. We're gonna go to my home state. I'm like, what a confidence time to happen, going
Yeah,
into my home state. So I was like, this could potentially happen. And I already
yeah,
told my wife and everybody. I'm like, if Candlewood doesn't go well, I'm going to East West. I mean, I don't
right.
have a choice. I'm gonna ride this train.
Yeah.
So um, you know, if I'm happy, let's try to stay in the 10, try to make a run
Yeah.
for it,
So I say like
for
that's
sure.
because I mean like we're surrounded by us being in the Northeast, we're surrounded by people that go to the 10. Like it's like every time like for the last 2 years that house is full of Northeast dudes. And national champions. I mean it's like why not Tibbens? Why can't Tibbens go be the 10?
I mean, I've been fortunate enough to be able to stay with Brundle and Conan, so I already know what their levels are at,
Yeah. Dude,
so
I stayed one time with those guys down at the Sandy Cooper like a year, not last season, yeah, the last season before COVID happened. Like those dudes are serious about fishing.
I
Like
mean,
like
it's
like
it's it's nice to stay with people that are that serious though,
oh
because
dude, yeah,
it
because
keeps you on the level.
it did because like me, I like to drink and have a good time. And so they
Yeah,
asked
yeah,
me to come stay.
right, right.
They like me to stay at their house, and I was staying with them and Rob P. And I brought like beers. I was like ready to have a good time. And
Yep.
these guys are in bed by 10. They're spending most of the day,
Yeah,
eating, getting their lures set up. And I'm over like, woo, shotgun and beers by
yeah.
myself in the corner over there. But it's just like those guys. It's being with them. It kind of teaches. Like I mean, look, they're great guys. They're funny as shit. They
Oh,
curse. They
absolutely.
joke around. They ball
Absolutely.
bust.
No.
But when it comes to like that, to like they're there to win. Like they're not.
Yeah, no, they're focused on
Yeah.
exactly what they're doing, and they usually have a game plan,
Yeah.
before we even get there. And they're like, oh, I got spots already. I'm gonna go look at. I'm like, I'm gonna find a ramp first.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, but I've been fortunate enough to stay with people on that level, and see how they take on tournaments. So it's
Yeah.
been helpful in that kind of way. So I've been lucky for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we're looking at Candlewood. If you crush Candlewood,
Yeah. And Illinois, I guess they're going to open up some water on Illinois
yeah,
too.
I
So
just I just found out today about that. I was talking to
that'll
talking
that'll
talking
be
to someone.
that'll be interesting.
Well,
That'll
no,
that.
well, I just decided I'm gonna fish Candlewood. I just signed up like last week, and I'm like, oh, dude, I don't even know what to do about that place. I've never been there before. I know, like, here's my two big fears about that place: finding where to launch, and then fishing a place I know is like highly pressured. And like it's just it's one of those things you get used to in a kayak. I go wherever I want. When Oneida gets bad, I'm gonna go fish these these ponds and like you don't get you avoid those highly pressured spots. I mean, like it's tough, man. I don't know how I'm gonna approach that lake. Hopefully I get some good pre-fishing in, but I mean the final launch though is the biggest thing.
I'll fair warn you right now. There's 2 public boat ramps. The place is gonna look like a washing machine. There's gonna be thousands of boats out there. Be ready for that. Jeez. And I mean, it's gonna be busy. I mean, it's just Candlewood is a busy lake because you're so close to New York, so you get a lot of people jumping over. Yeah. It's one of the best lakes in the nation. So I mean,
it's like one of the only lakes right in that area, right? Because everything, like us up here in like upstate New York, we got everything. Like I mean,
5,000 acres. That's our biggest lake in Connecticut. So I mean, that's as big as it gets. But it's in a ritzy kind of town, and the people there like to keep their things private, and that's just, I mean, it's always been like that.
Yeah,
always. And the boat ramps fill up. I've seen people posting, oh, they're gonna close it off. I've gone there plenty of times at 8 o'clock and had no issue.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're launching at 8 o'clock, you probably should have just stayed at the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you plan on, I mean, honestly, if you're trying to launch at 8 o'clock, you probably shouldn't be at that place.
But do you think, like, because I was looking at some of these areas, I promise we'll wrap this thing up soon, but like, I was trying to find a spot like beaches that you could like just drag a kayak to the beach. No
way.
This is gonna be crazy.
They're private. They're, like I said, this is in a really, really nice area. I mean, these people are pretty tight about what they do over there, for sure.
Yeah,
but like I said, it's going to be busy. It always is. I mean, especially we start getting into this warmer weather and everybody starts getting angsty. Everybody starts putting their docks in. Pontoon boats come out. Jet skis come out. It's going to be busy. I have a feeling.
What do you think about? What do you think about Candlewood that time of the year, though? You think it's going to be spawn, pre-spawn? Like, where are you guys at down in that wake? Because we're like our fish are still getting fat right now. What are your fish doing?
That's like 2 hours for me. I'm on the eastern side of Connecticut, so it's on the western side, and it's kind of like up in the hills. So I'm gonna say it could be spawn, but probably pre-spawn in between. Maybe I'm not even really sure, because I mean, I know some of my smaller lakes around here are spawn, but that doesn't mean anything for a place that it gets 10 times the amount of snow than on the shoreline spots.
It's also got parts of the lake that are like 70 feet deep too.
Yeah, so. I mean it's a great place. No matter what, it doesn't matter. You're gonna catch fish there. It doesn't matter what time of the year. Like, it's just one of those places where it has fish, it catches fish. But I think with Villanova coming into play, I think you might see some different approaches.
Yeah, because I heard about that too. So now I'm really trying to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to go take a chance and fish at the Candlewood and get one of those big ass bass there? I don't know too much about the other place, but I don't know. There's options now.
Well, both of them are loaded with smallies and largies, so you're gonna get both fish at both places.
Right.
Little Nola is kind of more like it has a lot of current in most places, but then it kind of ponds out. At the top end, it's got a dam, so it's got a little bit of moving water, and then it kind of just stays moving. But like once it fingers out, it pretty much slows right down. It just turns into a lake.
Oh, cool. All right, man. We'll wrap this thing up, dude. Appreciate you coming on. Why don't you take the time now to like thank who you want to thank, let people know where they can follow you, shit like that.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Black Hall Outfitters in Westbrook and Old Lyme, and Any Bass and New England Bassin, and Old Town Kayaks and Canoes. I could be found on Instagram at FireballJack46, and my Facebook page that I've been slacking on is Jack Tibbens Fishing. Sorry, I'm terrible at the Facebook, man. I just really haven't been on there too much, but yeah, you can find me at those places or on the water.
I'm looking forward. I'm sure we'll meet in Candlewood. Hopefully,
I will be.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Running around somewhere.
All right, man. Well, it's good talking to you. Finally meet you. Look forward to you next season. I'm sure you'll be back on the show sooner than later. But yeah, man, have a good night, and hopefully I'll see you at Candlewood.
All right, sir.
All right, buddy.
Later.